Welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action. From Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and the Furious. We will review the theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. And we're almost doing theatrical films. Almost. It's getting closer and closer. It may happen soon. All right. But tonight we're reviewing WandaVision, episode 8, right? We're doing episode 8. Previously on, I have the wrong cue up. I almost screwed up. All right, but that's I never do that.
It's so rare.
It's so rare. I never screw up. All right, joining us tonight is Chris Slattery, also known as Slattman. How you doing, sir?
Good. Not as I'm doing a lot better than I think Wanda's doing right now.
Nah, I like that. All right. Also joining us is podcasting rockstar and international cosplay queen, Vanessa Thompson. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Chris, what's on your shirt?
Me?
Yeah, top Chris.
Maiden in Black from Demon Souls.
Oh, yeah. I thought it looked familiar. That's pretty good. I'm sorry. Sidetracked, but I like it.
No, is Christopher G. Moore now Bottom Chris?
Bottom Chris.
Oh, let's don't.
I was going to say I'm feeling as good as Albino Vision, but, you know.
I don't know if he's feeling good.
I don't know. We don't know yet. All we saw him was looking at his hand.
Bottom Chris.
Bottom Chris. Award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. He can't say anything. He's still laughing.
When she said Top Chris, I was like, oh, this is not going to go anywhere good for this podcast. This is not Disney Plus material.
What's on your shirt?
It's different horror characters that glows in the dark.
Was that Pinhead? Oh,
yeah, there's Pinhead and there's like
I see
Frankenstein
monster.
Like
yeah,
very nice.
Y'all got
all the different ones. There's even a Hannibal Lecter on here somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm glad I got a good laugh out before we started.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to review WandaVision tonight, episode 8. We're going to give our first impressions. We're going to try to stay spoiler free for that, but once we get into the discussion of the show, we're going full spoilers. We're going to talk about theories and what we saw, hidden things and Easter eggs and all kinds of crazy things. If it was on the show, we're likely going to talk about and spoil it. So watch the show. We know you have, and then come back and watch this. All right. And then we're going to end things up with our favorite scene, our score 1 to 5, and our final thoughts. But what are we talking about? Let's do the card, shall we? Yes. Episode 8, previously on a very well titled episode of this, directed by Matt Shackman. I think he's been directing all of them, right? Written by Laura Downey and Jack Schaefer, which I think all they're doing is revolving the team that's written, the writing team from episode to episode. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Wanda embarks on a troubling journey revisiting her past for insight into her future and present. Yes, that is very much what happens here. It is the penultimate episode, and in the one thing that is perhaps, traditional about this episode is that it takes a very similar approach to what a penultimate episode would do and revving up and getting ready for that final episode. Other than that, it's bonkers crazy, really cool stuff. MCU deep. We get a lot of references, and we get another stinger. I like that. I hope we get another one next week. But yes, one episode away from the finale. Cannot wait. But we have to talk about this one first. So let's do this. Chris, the Slattman, top Chris. What?
let's go away from that phrasing.
What is your first impression of episode 8?
It was really good. It answered a lot of questions. I can't really say much more without giving away spoilers. So,
yeah.
Oh,
but yeah, they're still knocking it out of the park. They're 8 out of 8 now, and
nice.
Let's just see if they can close out the 9th inning.
Can't, yeah. Oh, you're too cool. I was just gonna say, can they stick the landing? But yours is better, man. That's awesome. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Vanessa, you're up next. What was your first impression of episode 8 previously?
Oh, I loved it. I loved this episode. I loved it. And I've heard some people online calling it a filler episode. And I just want to be like, you know nothing about filmmaking. You know nothing about how a series is made. You know nothing about story development. No, it's so good. There's so much packed into this episode, and so emotional too.
Yes.
It's so emotional. And you know, I don't think it's too spoilery this early on to say that, you know, Agatha like owns my whole heart. Catherine Hahn, she's just amazing.
She's really good in this episode. Really strong. All right. Christopher G. Moore, the award-winning filmmaker. What is your
Say it.
What?
Don't you say it.
I tried not to, but man, it's right there.
Okay, sideways, Doc. Yeah. I think it's I think someone on TikTok had mentioned this episode that it doesn't progress the plot. And I'm like,
do you know the definition of that word? Do you? Excuse me, sir. Are you using that word correctly?
I mean,
I
this
feel like
episode
this progresses the plot of the MCU more than certain movies have. Looking at you, Thor.
This progresses the plot. Yeah, this progresses the plots of other MCU movies, as well as it gives you information that we didn't really know. You know, the information involving, without giving anything away, Hayward, information involving, you know, Wanda and her background. So we find out all this information, you know, her parents, we find all this information in this episode. And there's a piece of dialogue in this episode, which if you're on the internet, you probably already seen it. If you have yet seen the episode, that is one of the most well-written pieces of dialogue I never thought would be in a Marvel show. And encapsulates grief in a simple line. And that's brilliant. And I mean, there's several times I teared up and cried during this episode because it's heart-wrenching. You know, there's even a scene where you finally get to see her as a kid, without giving anything away, watching the TV shows. And that was emotional for me. I don't know if it's emotional for you guys, but I got emotional watching that. Because you can see that was her escape, you know, in her life. That was the idyllic life that she wanted as a kid, you know, that she's using her magic to create on this show.
Well, look at the four of us. I'm sure the four of us can relate to that 100%.
Oh yeah. And I mean, and me growing up, I didn't have much of a life growing up. I lived vicariously through the characters and the shows and movies. You know, the one thing that you can escape from your life, whether it's depression, whether it's your home life, whether it's being bullied at school, is you can go watch a show on television, be entertained by it, by these characters, or go to the theater and escape for that hour and a half and be engrossed and being in a galaxy far, far away. You can, all these things, you can sort of like use it as an escape, and you can sort of see that was her way, in a way, from escaping her having to deal with the emotions of the loss that she's had to live through all of her life. And that's the great thing about this episode. This whole series is about her dealing with her grief in a weird way, using her magic to sort of like put blinders on. And there's other people that are trying to possibly, I guess, manipulate around that. But yeah, this episode's wonderful. I mean, we get the backstory right off the bat about Agatha. And that I love is a different take on that we weren't really expecting. Yeah, and Catherine Hahn is just hitting it out of the park, because we always know her as this comedic character in other properties, but here she has that comedic sensibility, and being sort of a firebrand of a character, but also showing that dark element and also dramatic. And there's so much nuance to her character that you can see that she's not just an evil character. There's some underlying thing to it as well. So yeah. I mean, this goes into so many different levels of it. This goes through a lot of the, the things that we know with the Wanda character, we get to see these background elements, and it's almost like a psychoanalysis of her life within this specific episode. So yeah, I think this is a brilliant episode. And I think, like we talked to Dave from H&R right before this, he was talking about like he wasn't really sucked into the show like a lot of people after the first 2 episodes, but he watched the rest of it and he's like, oh, this is a brilliant show. And this is literally one of the most brilliant things I think the MC has ever created, and probably one of the most brilliant shows conceived, I would say, to some degree, because there's so many underlying things to it, more than just being about these two superheroes living, in this sort of like TV show life. There's so much nuance and emotion to it, and also how it sort of informs the movies as well. It just doesn't inform the series; it informs the other MCU moments that we know that we didn't really have a lot of background on. So yeah, I think this episode it's definitely the emotional linchpin for this whole series is this episode.
Yep. And and it certainly lays some groundwork for the inclusion of a certain superhero group that we're all waiting to appear in the MCU. We'll get there. I love this episode. I've loved every episode. There have been some that won me over more than others. Halloween episode, I'm talking to you. That's still my favorite, but there's a reason for that, and it has very little to do with what they're doing, and more about just the costumes that were in that particular episode. But I loved this really wove everything together. Everything that we've seen in the first 7 episodes is now woven together, and things are starting to make sense. There's still questions. There's still the big mystery, but how Wanda got here, how she got in the state, how Agatha got involved, and all these other things are all laid out, and what Hayward's up to, right? Importantly, if you stuck around for the stinger, there's something really interesting happens. And if you're a comic book fan, that stinger has a lot more importance than a casual viewer might think. So there are things in here that are extraordinary, and there are touching scenes. There's I guess they are in the flashbacks, right? There's one at the Avengers compound that is really deep, and you could really, we've always seen the connection between Wanda and Vision. They've done a good job of having that chemistry appear on screen, but this particular episode just solidifies it in one short little sequence, and very important. And then the whole letter that and the house is quite touching, and triggers a lot of things, deep in emotions and with our characters. Really, really strong work. To say this doesn't progress a story, I can't conceive of that, because that's all this episode does. It's literally that's what this episode does. It is actually saying, okay, you've seen all this. It's kind of been here, there. Now it's all pushed together to form, a great penultimate episode for the finale. Now we're all set. It's put, all the players are in place, all the chess pieces are in place. The only thing, if I were to kind of get on the bandwagon for them, the only thing is it didn't have enough of some of the other characters, right?
Like any.
You're right. We really didn't get many of them at all. So, and then I did find that I was missing them, right? But there was no room. This was the longest episode yet, and there was literally no more room left to put anything else in, and it wouldn't have helped. All it would have done is kind of
made it longer.
Yeah, made it longer and messed with the pacing, because the pacing was perfect for this.
Mm-hmm.
It ends on a great cliffhanger as well.
A great line too.
That too. So this is really a perfect episode, and the look that the great line about that I did like that. Explains the name.
Yeah.
But the look of Agatha Harkness, the purple costume purple and black is just, I really like it. She looks great in that costume. She looks great.
Her performance, and Elizabeth Olsen, and Paul Bettany, he's one of those actors that has done everything from top to bottom, right? But even in this, I think these are some of the best performances I've seen from these actors. It's so touching and moving and full, so well developed, all of them. You don't look when Vision and Wanda are sitting on the bed there, you're seeing Vision, you're not seeing Paul Bettany, and that's a huge thing. The way that he talks and his just the way he is that character, and to see, and I really, really think Elizabeth Olsen, this is the best. I've seen a lot of her work, and I really think this is the best she's ever done. Performance wise,
it really is award worthy. I mean, I have a feeling that it won't get recognized, but it really, really should. It is complex. It is varied. They even so much so that they actually kind of go into the the in and out of the accent, right? There's just so much going on. I really love her performance. Now, just a real quick side note as we get into this. Full spoilers are on, so let's do it. Just dive in. Let's get into it. That scene that you're mentioning, Vanessa, is really the foundation of their relationship.
Well, Chris touched on it. The entire internet has blown up over that moment between them, and the softness and the delicateness and the anger and the explanation of such a simple explanation of grief. Whoever wrote that, I imagine, is either an amazing writer that can put themselves in other situations, or has experienced that, or has been close to an experience like that, to write something so honest and genuine.
Yeah. You can almost see Wanda falling in love at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Really
well,
incredible.
yeah. I mean, and I think when you have a character that's the less human of any of the characters in the MCU, but he actually has more in-depth knowledge of what love really is, that's amazing. I mean, I think it's funny because I have some friends that are writers. They're blown away by that one line about, like, what is grief if not love persevering? That's such a brilliant line. I have writer friends like, I wish I could write something like that. Me as a filmmaker, man, I would love to be able to write something like that has that. It's such a simple phrase, but there's so many levels to what that's about, and
it means something so deeply to Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it did in a way to Vision, but then immediately he's laughing at what he sees on the screen, what they're watching, and it's such a
it's seeing that connection develop between the two, because he's able to tap into that because she's so overwhelmed with everything, being trapped and stuff in that. And then because he's able to sort of tap into that, they have that connection, and you can see why they fell in love, because they're both sort of almost alone in their own little realm. And again, this show, every little detail, because even if you look at the episodes she's watching on the TVs at different parts, you see the Malcolm in the Middle scene where the dad's trying to build this deck and it falls apart, in the same way that Wanda is trying to create this fake world, and no matter how she does it, it's going to fall apart. You see earlier when she's watching the Brady Bunch episode with the little doll, where the brother's pointing out that's not real, in the same way that people are pointing out the Vision isn't real. It's funny how they even what she's watching says so much about the character in each of these little episodes of her life. We tap into.
Well, I think it was very poignant when she said it's not that kind of show.
Yes, I was going to say
he's like,
that,
is it funny that he hurt himself or whatever? And she's like, well, it's not that kind of show, and that's the kind of show she's created, right? Not that kind of show.
Yeah, and and you talked about, like, her acting in this. I think throughout this whole series, I mean, we definitely get to see this severely emotionally traumatized person in this episode. But throughout this whole series, you get to see her sort of enacting these different types of sitcom characters, even from the physicality where she holds her arms, which I'm like, oh, or just, I even love the part like when we get the Halloween episode when she comes and they ask her like, what's your costume? And she's like, I'm a whatever fortune teller. She does this little thing that's so cute, and that seems like something somebody would do on a sitcom, but not in real life. She's imitating that, and then we get to this point where we get to see the real Wanda and her interactions and these different things, and it's just like, it's so brilliant. And I think it's kind of sad that I think when awards time comes around, the people who just see this as just a superhero series, as opposed to this is just as dramatic as anything that's out there, and it should be spotlighted and celebrated, because I think this is why so many people are entranced with this series, is because it's not just something that's making fun of or paying homage to TV shows. It's more than that. It's about these, flesh and blood characters, and sometimes other characters aren't as flesh and blood, but they have a human aspect to them, and we can all relate to that because we can all relate to grief in our own lives, and or love, or any of those kind of aspects of how we'd love to be able to live like characters in movies or TV shows, live that idyllic life, that perfect life we see. But it always, we all want to be the Jedi or Sith Lord or whatever, but in real life, you can't really do that.
There's always an Agatha around messing it up.
I know. Oh man, that opening thing to where we think it's just Agatha being, going to be burned at the stake by villagers or whatever, and it ends up being other witches saying, "You're giving us a bad name."
What a great opening.
Yes, and that was her mom too. What you just said reminded me of the dialogue from last episode about Vision has adamantium skin rather. The kids or Vision's made from Adam. I'm totally screwing this up, but the kids literally inherited tough skin. That's what I was getting.
Oh, vibranium, right?
Yeah, vibranium. Thank you. I'm bringing in mutants, and this show kind of does too. So let's jump into that. We've had four different segments of Wanda's past. The first one is when she was a child, and the moment that we know about, right, where the bomb from Stark Industry lands in their living room and doesn't explode. And there's a reveal here, and Slattman jump in, but she calls her a baby witch at this point, right? The baby witch that doesn't really know what she is yet. Is this not establishing her as a mutant?
I don't know because they've had to go so long without using the M word because of legal reasons.
Right.
It really, I don't know. Like,
because these two were introduced as mutants back in the day. So, and so they are heavily implying that they had these powers from the onset.
But does that make it like, so is she a mutant or is it magic?
Well, that's what we don't know yet. We don't know if they're going to go down that road. If a certain magnetic character appears at the end of the season in a final stinger, then they are definitely going down the mutant hole.
Well, I think this is where the comic book nerds, come into play, and because if you look into the comic book stuff, and to be honest, I never really read any comics, but I've been going down a rabbit hole, Agatha rabbit hole, with all this stuff, and with them saying the chaos magic element, which ties into Chthon, this sort of evil god character that supposedly put an element of him inside of her that gave her the chaos magic powers. So it'll be interesting to see if they do play into that. But at the same time, the Mind Stone or the that stuff sort of supposedly brought out those powers much more that she was kind of like, not really developing
Yeah, that
I've
would have gone
seen-
unnurtured, right? So
Yeah, I've seen a really interesting theory that I kind of can wrap my head around, but I can't. I can see like where they're coming from with it, but I can't really say yes, that's exactly what they're doing. Is that this is their interpretation of the Phoenix Force?
ooh, that's
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
That's interesting. Different
Yeah,
character, but
see, it's like it's one of those things where it's like I could sit there and I'm like, huh.
Okay. Yeah.
You
it
know,
works.
that would work in the MCU, but also that's kind of weird. But also,
It
they've
is
done
a
a
little
lot of
weird.
really weird interpretations in the MCU anyway. So
that work. We
Yeah.
should say.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and this
occasionally
could
they
work,
throw out a whiplash, but
especially if you know Wanda ends up becoming when she becomes the Scarlet Witch, you know, and if she ends up being a bad guy in whatever hell phase we're in, you know, you could interpret this, yeah. You could interpret this as their version of the Phoenix Force, which
could be.
would be really cool.
By
Well,
the
they-
way, interjection. Please only refer to me as Fietro from now on.
Pietro. Yes.
What we call you,
that.
Vanessa?
Vanessa. That was really funny. I still don't buy it though. There's
Well,
something there.
There's
Well,
something there.
Well, but you know, she does point out that she couldn't bring her real brother because he was on a different continent. So, you know, but she doesn't. I don't really feel that she has the powers to pull someone from a different universe. So I'm thinking it's just more Kevin Feige, you know, messing with us and using somebody who has a similar face to another character in another universe. Although I don't know. I mean,
But he got to run around fast.
Yeah, I'd be a little pissed.
I think they almost have to. They've almost committed to it at this point, right?
because I think there's somebody who pointed out, he said something recently in an interview where it kind of played out that he wasn't going to be mixing in people from the other. But I don't know. At this point, we don't really know. You know, everybody keeps messing. I mean, for all we know, the famous cameo of the actor he always wanted to play with, Paul Bettany, is probably playing with himself. Because if you think about it, he's like, "Oh, I've always wanted to act with this. I respect his talent so much, and I would love to do."
Oh
a
my
scene
god,
with him.
that's hilarious!
I mean, that's what everybody thinks, is that Paul Bettany's been trolling us this whole time, and the big cameo is just
himself as the
White Vision.
Yes.
How meta can you get though? How many fake Easter eggs can you plant before fans are like, "All right, I can't do this anymore." Right?
Yeah. Well, they haven't gotten there yet, but
We're not there yet.
all right. So the second segment introduces, you know, the I forget what the name of the thing is, but it's one of the Infinity Stones, and Wanda survives. We knew she did this. We saw hints of it, but the important thing is that we see what she sees.
we see.
And this is the scene where people are pointing out that it could be the interpretation of the Phoenix Force, because
Could be.
the Phoenix comes in and, you know, into Jean Grey.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I
it
mean,
looks like Wanda's a classic Wanda costume.
well, it's the Scarlet Witch, and is it? I guess the main thing is this her in the future, fulfilling her, you know, nature, becoming the full Scarlet Witch, or is this an alternate universe Scarlet Witch?
Or is this where she gets her powers and she wasn't actually born with them?
Is the Phoenix?
No, they already established she had them with the.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
baby witch.
I missed that.
Is the Phoenix a Nexus being? Is she a Nexus being? Like they refer to the Scarlet Witch as a Nexus being?
No.
Because
I
then there
don't
would
know.
be a tie-in.
I don't think so.
I know the Phoenix Force is like some weird conglomeration of like space mutant, weird absorption power, amoeba blob sometimes.
Although
that's all encompassing. That's like
I mean, but if you think about it,
that's specific.
but if you think about it, that's kind of accurate, though.
although
No,
I did find it funny that you know, the scene in the bewitched basement with the runes. you get to see one of the runes is like an M, and so people are thinking that looks like Magneto's helmet, or some people are like, oh, that's a House and M reference, and it's like it's probably just an M. It's probably has no meaning whatsoever that people are reading into it, but
it looks suspiciously like the exact font for the M for the.
It does.
Well,
it does.
People were saying, oh, those were gods. Like, these were all these gods that were going to come down. And I remember hearing those theories and being like, no, it's probably just some writing on the wall.
It's just a rune.
Yeah.
This is what we've gotten ourselves into. We're looking into every little thing, trying to make every little connection, because they've done such a good job of making connections for 7 episodes.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's still fun. It's still fun.
Right well, and I hope so. I think my worry is I think people are building up expectations to where if the last episode doesn't deliver, we're like,
well, there is some pressure. There is some pressure.
Yeah, if it is the last episode, which
there's that too, right?
Some people are saying, because they tweeted that like episode 8 just released and there's 2 last episodes. Wait a minute, is that one of the last 2 episodes, or is although somebody on TikTok made a really interesting idea that the behind the scenes episode
is 10,
is actually a variation of behind the scenes episodes, but
especially since they had one of the scenes in this episode was literally like behind the scenes of
that's right, there's a couple of them.
They said that it'll actually be an episode like the TV episodes, but it'll be behind the scenes. Which I'm like, nah, I'm thinking it'll just be a behind the scenes episode, but everybody's like thinking there's going to be a 10th episode. So I think some people are going to be upset when.
Well, we do
not if they wrap it up well.
Yeah, we do get to see Wanda literally create the house and literally create a vision. So we always thought the vision was that she stole the body. That's what we were told, and resurrected him. But she went one step further. Did she not?
I mean, explains why he can't leave the hex.
Mm-hmm.
It does, right?
Well, but then also shows you how much Hayward was trying to manipulate her to basically jumpstart Vision, and she didn't do it there. But then she was like, I don't need your robot parts to make a Vision come alive. I could use my magic.
I'll use my anger.
Yeah, but I mean that scene is so. Especially when she opens up that deed to the house, for us to grow old in. That's like,
and to think that he had to do that before Infinity War,
right?
Before Thanos, and then she got blipped, and it's just been sitting there for 5 years.
Yeah.
Unless it was not him.
Stop it!
He just conveniently was across the street from a witch.
Stop.
She down.
I don't know.
She come flying down. The other scene when she does finally see the parts of Vision, and you see the head there, and she can't find Vision there, right?
That's such a heartbreaking because it's like a mirror of what happens in Infinity War, where he's like, I can feel you.
Well, she says I can feel you, and then he says I can feel you, and then in this one's I can't feel you. She's like, oh my gosh. Although you can tell it's all staged what they're doing in there, because they're not even. That one guy's just like using like a saw. On his
why
head.
would you cut him apart like that?
No, you can tell that Hayward had that all staged for her to come in and see that, hoping that it would emotionally trigger her. To sort of bring him back to life, because they haven't been able to do that. That's the reason that we find out later that they use some of her magic leftovers to bring their non-emotional version to life.
Yeah. Before we get there, though, we should talk about the last scene, because I guess I never realized she was never called the Scarlet Witch. Right, because that's how I know her.
Jimmy will remember. He's like, or somebody says, "Doesn't she have a name or something?"
Hayward
has
a nickname.
And they say no, and I didn't realize until then that we've never called her the Scarlet Witch.
She's just been Wanda.
She's always been the Scarlet Witch to me. So I just put that on her. So to hear somebody call her that, and the reason why now, I love that scene. That's. I think that's the scene you were talking about, the the final line before we get to this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh, that
what a great line to go to credits to.
Well, that and just
Right?
the image of Agatha being the ultimate villain with these little two children on her little magical leashes with her black fingertips.
I'm kind of sad that she's a villain. Like that, she's like they've basically all but confirmed that she is the villain, unless they do some crazy shit where Wanda and her created Vision have to defeat White Vision and with the help of Agatha, and everything is okay and there's no beef between them.
Yeah, is she a villain? Like she did some naughty things, but that's only because she wanted to learn this power, right?
You did some naughty things.
I really hope that they become like frenemies at least, or something.
Well, it's gonna be more enemies than frenemies.
Yeah. Maybe
they don't have.
Depends on what she does to the kids.
Well, but I feel like that. I feel like it almost feels like that she's lost someone and she's wanting to utilize that power to bring somebody back. Yep. You know what I mean?
It does feel that way.
And also
her son.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, and she's almost like she's losing her life energy for the fingertips when she's holding on to those children. So it almost makes me wonder. It's like if she's, so yeah, there's so many different things. Also, if you think about it, all those people in that community, they're all dealing with loss and grief. So in a way, by Wanda coming in there, she gave them a life, because you have this guy, the sad guy, who's not really be able to play the piano. So he's putting the little piano lessons up there and looking all sad. You have the delivery guy who doesn't love his life, but then he gets to be like the postal worker who everybody loves. You have the wife who looks like she looks like she's sad. Maybe she lost her husband. Maybe she finally gets to bring her husband back. And I mean, there's like so many things. If of that. Yeah, I mean, there's like, you see all these people, they look sad. Yeah. All these people look sad. And so in a way, even though they're kind of, I guess, suffering to some degree, it makes you wonder if in her like sick way, she's trying to give them some kind of hope or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I almost feel like there's got to be something else to Wanda and to Agatha. There's got to be something else there that I think there's got to be somebody behind the scenes.
That book that she had.
The book maybe,
the Darkhold, because it was open on that thing when she's down there. It's open, and there's also another book that has a tree on it. It looks mysteriously like the tree when they found the Tesseract in one of the previous MC, I think Thor or whatever.
There you go.
So, yeah. So I don't know. It's because I feel like that one scene where she says, where the kids say, like, I thought you could bring him to life or whatever. And it almost seems Agatha almost feels like
you can do that.
You can do that. And there's a scene where she wipes away a tear, which she could sort of think might be, her just acting or whatever. But Wanda doesn't see her. So why would she wipe a tear away? Unless she's actually affected by that emotional scene between her and Vision. So I don't know. I feel like there's more to her character than meets the eye.
I thought that was a fake,
But she's behind her. She's behind her, unless she's just doing that, being her normal snarky character.
Yeah.
I think we all want her to pull a Loki, right? Where she's the bad guy, but yet.
Yeah.
I want her to continue on. Yeah. In different aspects of this universe, because she is such the perfect villain.
Yeah. I hope so. I don't know. Is she on the Doctor Strange? I don't know.
I don't know.
They might be keeping it secret.
They might have to, right?
Yeah.
More secret than they did with the other Spider-Man.
Although there is a shot of the whole family together.
There
almost
is.
Like they're in fighting form, the kids and Vision and Wanda. So
yeah, it looks very Incredibles, doesn't it?
Yeah, very, very comic book cover, that's for sure.
Yeah. The okay, so we got to talk about Vision before we wrap up. We get a stinger and we get to see the white only version of, the albino version, I think is what you called them, Vanessa, of Vision, which is straight out of the comics. There was a time when the Vision had been dismantled and he was brought back, and this is the appearance he had. Although I don't think they're going to, they're going to make this one, I think, even colder than that one. And we haven't heard his voice, and there are people that are going to say he's going to sound like Ultron, but
Robert California, that would be so amazing.
I mean, could it be him?
Well, supposedly, if you pull up Google and look up casts, his voice is listed as part of the cast. So I don't know if that's somebody added it.
Oh my god!
Because if Vision's been rebooted, he was basically made from
both of him and
they
right?
Ultron.
That, right?
So if you take the Vision out of him, wouldn't he be just pure Ultron?
Is there also part Tony in there? Was the Vision made?
I mean, Jarvis was like Tony's baby. So
yeah.
Although at the same time, do we really want Ultron? We don't really want him to be coming back like he was before. So maybe he's been hiding in the actual Nexus computer network all this time, waiting to fight again.
I swear to God, if Paul Bettany's big guy is himself, that is going to be ridiculous.
I mean, that some people were saying that it'd be funny if that he's been trolling us the whole time. I feel like there's got to be somebody. I feel like
the person that Jimmy Woo is looking for, right? That kind of just stopped, but there's still somebody there that he was looking for.
Yeah, the
right?
person under he was
witness protection or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still don't know who that is.
Yeah.
So we never found out who Dottie is either.
I don't think Dottie's anybody.
We did see Dottie.
Probably not. Although people are trying to point out that she might be a witch and that maybe she's communicating with Doctor Strange because her flowers are yellow. Wanda's flowers are red because of her magic.
Who's Dottie?
And she's the
Emma Caulfield
that had the little get together around the pool.
Oh, okay.
Because she
was the one that was she's the one with the joke that was like, how does this look on me, and the power goes out or something like that, right?
Yeah. But Agatha's flowers are purple for her magic. Wanda's flowers are red for her magic. And Dottie, she has yellow flowers outside her house. So people are thinking that she might be I forgot what character it is. But I don't know. I still think
that Wanda's, when she makes the vision, it's yellow magic, and when she sees the version of herself, it's yellow.
Well, that's the time stone magic. Yeah. I still think Mephisto is going to show up. I think he's going to be like almost like the Thanos at the end of.
Well, they do have that opportunity, and they're also a lot of people are banking on Doctor Strange at this point.
I think he is, but I think they'll have some kind of villain that might tie into the villain in Doctor Strange.
Well, we haven't seen what is her husband's name that she keeps mentioning all the time?
Ralph.
Is there a Ralph, or is that just a gag?
I don't think there's a Ralph. I think
it's
Ralph.
Just a gag?
I think it's just a gag at this point.
Unless she transfigured Ralph into the rabbit and then he pops up in the end.
The Ralph is what's she call Ralph? I mean, not Ralph the rabbit.
Senior Scratchy, which is
what's her son's name, right?
Could be a play off of Nicholas Scratch.
Right.
I don't know. There's I can't believe there's just one episode left because I feel like there's so many questions I need answered that we'll probably never have.
I feel
answered.
like this last episode's going to be like an hour long.
Has to be. I hope.
Has to be, right? Yeah.
People online are just like, I wonder if there's going to be a season 2. And I'm like, it's not going to be a season 2. There's going to be a movie that ties into this or another show.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is listed as a miniseries, and there is rumor around that they're so happy with this that they do want to do a Wanda. Now, I guess they can now call it the Scarlet Witch solo movie. So,
I mean, Scarlet Witch solo movie would be great, especially if it gives us an excuse to bring in the X-Men characters officially,
or if it's just like the movie Stay Tuned, where she goes through different TV.
Oh, now stop.
A man can dream. Okay.
Well, I mean, there is. We could get Magneto. Magneto's not out of the question, or Professor X. It's a little bit of a stretch, but they're not out of the question.
Well, I mean, that's what some people think, that maybe they may not even go into the whole Chthon thing, and they may just say that her parents are not really those parents.
The whole Wendigore thing. There's so much, which isn't what they're doing here, but oh yeah, I mean,
we might not get any of these questions answered.
It's going to be something else. We're all going to go, oh, I didn't see it coming.
Or it's going to be something stupidly obvious.
Only in, what's that? Just one X-Wing?
Wouldn't that be funny if Mark Hamill actually showed up as a character?
It would
As
be
the
great.
Joker.
Well, no. Can you imagine if he was actually this universe's version of Magneto? Was actually Mark Hamill?
Oh my God.
I'm trying to think of who else Mark Hamill could play and pull off really well.
Who was the guy he is in DC? Who was the DC,
Joker?
No, not that in the Flash series.
Oh,
yeah.
Twister,
Prankster,
something like that.
Trickster or something.
Trickster, yes.
Trickster. Have him come around as
I saw
maybe.
that.
Then
that was.
well, then maybe it's actually Loki though. What if? Oh my God! What if it is Luke Skywalker, but it's actually Loki because he's the trickster? This is just my ramblings.
All right. I think we are officially gone longer than the episode, so I think we should wrap it up here. Let's each of us give a final thought, a score. If we're not going to give it all fives, just say it. And let's pick a favorite scene. What hit you the most? I want to know the most powerful scene in this episode. And Slattman, you are up first, sir.
Oh, why do I have to go first? I loved it. I thought it was excellent. I say it every week, but the writing staff,
Yes,
everybody involved, every actor, every cinematographer, every person behind the scenes, they all deserve like 1 billion golden stars, because this is like this series is excellent, and they're writing with a purpose, and I love it. And they're writing in such a way that we can still sit here after 8 episodes and still say, well, I know there's only 45 minutes left, but it could be this, or it could be this, or it could be this, or it could be all of these things. I don't know how they're going to fit it all in 45 minutes, but it could be. And that's the beauty of this series. And I think I was watching something recently that was talking about how excellent it is that they didn't dump this entire series at once.
Yes, I love that it's being one.
Yeah, and they made the arguments, and I'm sorry if this is an argument that we've made in the past like 2 months as well, but they made the argument that this allows these types of conversations, whereas when you dump like an entire season like they do with Stranger Things, it's just like, okay, well, what's going to happen in a year and a half when the next season comes out, instead of what's going to happen next week. And that I love this, and I love that they're doing this, and we had the same thoughts and feelings about Mandalorian, and they're knocking it out of the park. So bravo.
Disney Plus is definitely doing the TV shows right.
Yeah, the Star Wars writers and the Marvel writers are all just doing amazing things, and they've confirmed there will not be a crossover. Thank goodness.
A Star Wars Marvel crossover.
Yes. Yeah, I love this. It's a 5. I can't wait for the next episode, and I'm preparing myself to be both really, really, really happy with the outcome, but also really disappointed it wasn't one of the billion of theories that we've come up with.
Yeah, don't make the mistake of getting locked into like it can only end this way, because you're just setting yourself up. Don't do that, right?
And My favorite scene is probably the scene when they go back to Wanda's childhood.
Ooh, nice, nice.
Everything like how the kids are talking with their father, how their father was the source of this escape for her, like how they're just like, oh, Wanda, not this episode again, and she's like, why, it's perfect, and all this other stuff, and then just like the boom smack with like the bomb, and how the bomb relates to the very first commercial, and how now we're gonna be like going through Wanda's life in the MCU with a fine-tooth comb to see if any other commercial, like how that aligns, because I can guarantee you the Hydra one is probably when she was being experimented on.
Yes, definitely.
Like the time, how much time she had to spend in there and stuff, and like, you know, things like that. But it's such a great like moment. I love that scene.
A great choice. A great choice. Vanessa, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
I totally agree with the Slattman. Like, this episode was perfection to me. They such amazing writing, such a way to explain so much and be so emotional about it, because they could have just laid a bunch of stuff out for us, right? They could have just word vomited all over us everything that, like, why Wanda did this, blah blah blah, but they showed it in such a beautiful way. And I loved having Agatha there as our navigator for it, because she's such a jerk the whole time. She's like, yeah.
So clinical. So clinical.
Yeah. Next. All right, tell me how you did. And you get the way that they put that, against each other. Like, we're talking about the moment of where they're talking about grief, into Vision just busting out laughing at something that's on the screen, and she goes, yes, that is funny. And just moments like that are so beautiful. Yeah, so everything that Chris said, I completely agree with. Absolutely a 5 for this one. Absolutely a 5. Agatha completely has put a spell on me, because she's such a great.
There's a song in there.
Yeah, that's right. She's such a great character. But my favorite scene, one that just touched my heart, broke my heart, was the moment where Wanda is creating this reality, and she creates Vision, and Vision sees her, and she walks into this reality, and she changes, and it's black and white, and that moment between them, that she sees him and doesn't believe what she's seeing, but then just falls into it, and it's so sweet and loving and gentle, and from so much pain. All of it came from an explosion of pain. And it just really, really, that moment just really touched my heart.
I like that. I like that quite a bit. All right, Christopher G. Moore, your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many great things we could say about this episode, because it does everything right. And then this happens in any kind of storytelling where you sort of like, you have characters and they look back on their trauma or certain issues in their life, and they try to figure out how they can move forward. Because sometimes we put blinders on as to why we are a certain way, or why we react a certain way, or how we try to deal with grief, but not dealing with it. And I think this episode does a great job of that, in a very entertaining and sometimes emotionally heart-wrenching way. And to start it off with Agatha draining power from witches and turning them into like dead bodies,
and her mother.
I know, killing her mom in the very beginning. It's like, wow, this is Disney.
And now we know where the brooch came from. There were so many theories about that brooch too. Y'all remember?
Yeah.
And
so
now she's just plucked
this
it
whole
from
time
her
we're
mom.
like, what's the brooch? That we have meaning behind the brooch, But I was thinking, it's like, wow, this isn't the normal thing you'd start a show off with. You drain all these bodies and you see these dead, drained, like the bodies from Life Force just falling to the ground dead. And It's like, as much as we love Agatha, it's like, wow, she's don't get in her way. But yeah, there's so many elements of this episode that really ties into the MCU in general, to the Wanda character. It explains so many different things throughout this whole season of why people are doing certain things, or things that Wanda didn't even know about, or she'd forgotten about or didn't want to deal with. And we see so many sides of these characters that really add so much depth to this series and the characters on it. It's just a really brilliant, and we give so much credit to the writers, but it's really everybody involved, from the actors and their performances to the production design people. Yeah, every little detail. I mean, if even like the little plot of land, the deed, if you look on it, it's on Sherwood Drive. Sherwood Schwartz, who created the Brady Bunch. The one of the signatures on it is actually one of the production designers on the show. So it's like all these little details, or even when you see like the town, change back into old timey, you actually, one of the signs goes to, it's a cleanup in a snap. Legos, paper towels. It's stuff that ties into. Yeah, there's like so many things that sort of tie into everything when it comes to this whole storyline. So this episode has more layers than the lasagna when it comes to how it imparts all this information. I know I have my food analogies. Okay. But yeah, it does such a great job. And it's like, I watch this as like, I hope one day I'm able to create something 1% of what they do on this show.
Nice.
Because it's heartfelt. It's entertaining. It makes you laugh at times. It makes you like, wow. It ends with the big level villain with two kids on invisible magic leashes. it looks like something out of like a stop motion series or something. And I kind of want to see somebody at a convention just with two kids.
Oh no,
leashes.
That's hilarious.
Please do that.
No.
Or maybe have
be safe.
Yeah, or maybe have two hot guys or hot girls on leashes. I don't know, do whatever you want to do.
Do it.
Just do it.
Two little puppets on like a little like.
Yeah, I don't know. I see a lot of cosplay potential in this series in general. But every episode I'm kind of blown away what they're able to do, and it's really all these talents involved that have created this series that not only affects you in a emotional way, but also keeps that sense of curiosity that you're always wanting to. What is this mystery about? We all want to find out about it. How many shows have we been this so involved with as much as this show? You don't see that because most of them are just pretty much cut and dry. So WandaVision is just brilliant. I can't say enough good things about it. It's a no-brainer. 5 out of 5. Or
15 out of 5.
eight times. I was trying to make an analogy, but my mind's not working.
3,000 out of 5.
There you go.
Yeah, it's our eight Infinity Stones out of 8 Infinity Stones, or however many Infinity Stones are. 6. 2 extra just for good measure. 2 extra for the 2 kids. Anyway,
I'm making shit up now. Get going.
Yeah, I know. So as for favorite scene, I'm going to point 2 moments out, and I hope I don't steal your thunder, Doc, but I think one moment is the moment that got me the most. Well, 2 moments that got me emotionally, but the one moment is when it's a little piece of Chris's butt when she's watching, yeah, top Chris. When she's a little girl and she's watching that episode of Dick Van Dyke.
Yes.
Because you watch that and you see where she got inspiration for the recreation of everything. And that episode in itself is about a nightmare. How you create these dreams and they don't turn out the way you want them to. But it's so emotional because you can sort of see her when she was this happy little kid. and her parents tried to mask her from the horrible world outside.
Literally right outside
Literally,
the door.
and then in a moment, in a snap, it's gone. There's even that part after that where she says, this nightmare is going to be over, and sort of like the characters, it's just a dream, and it's not. It's real life. But also, I have to point out the scene between Vision and Wanda. It's a simple scene, just two people sitting on a bed, and they're both superheroes, but it's more than that. It's two human beings,
much more. Yeah.
two people. And in that moment, you get so much of both of them. You realize that Vision is more human. He's not just some machine. There's something human in there. And Wanda, she's kind of broken, but he's helping her to bring those pieces back together. And it's just, it's hard to believe that just a simple scene on a bed is more powerful than any of the action scenes you could put in the MCU. It's just perfect. And I think no matter what they do with that last scene, I think this is brilliant television.
It is, absolutely.
And I mean, they're really hitting it out of the park with this. So I'm so glad that they took a chance and created this show that kind of infuriated people a little bit in the very beginning, but has brought everybody to the same side to where like, oh, this is such a beautiful show that has so much more to say than just people running around in superhero costumes.
Yeah, it just proves how rich this universe is. And, we get these great action epics, but there's so much underlying that there's still so much more to explore. And we're fortunate that we're getting the opportunity, to do that, to explore those elements. Would they have taken a risk, in a movie with this? I don't know. It's hard to say, right? I love this episode. I love this season. I love this show. I love everybody involved. It really, I love that how it's weaving in elements from the comics and in the typical, Marvel Cinematic Universe way. It's not a direct, interpretation, but it's one done with a lot of style and intelligence, and it certainly is paying off here. And we care. We know these characters. We care about them. If the more you know about their background in the comics, the more you're invested potentially you are in what the promise of these revelations are. But if you don't know anything about it, you know enough about these characters to be invested in the emotion that is behind what is happening here. And it is some of the best television made. We've been fortunate to cover in the past year some really great TV. That we've loved The Mandalorian. Lovecraft was fantastic as well. Some really great television in this day and age. And to be in a Marvel TV show, who knew, right? And who knew Mary Tyler Moore looked so cute and wonderful back in the day? I never really thought about it that way. She was adorable coming down those little flames. Sorry, I digress. I'm going to give this a 5, of course. My favorite scene. Okay, I am a huge Marvel zombie. I'm a huge nerd. I never saw this coming. I don't know why, but seeing the Vision at the end of this episode, that version of the Vision, I did not expect that, and it really threw me in the best way possible. Right? It was just like, oh my God, they went there. I had no idea that that's where they were going to go. Right? Just did not expect that. Up until the moment that we saw Wanda create the Vision, we thought that was the Vision, right? Because he talked about, you have so much of the vibranium in there, right? So it couldn't be not the Vision, but it isn't. They still have them, and oh my gosh, it just means so much. And it, I read those books when they came out. I read those books when they came out. And John Byrne finally got a credit. I'm just throwing that out there, people. Some people know what I'm talking about. But man, he's a cantankerous. Anyway, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of promise. There is so much lore, and it's all available now, and it's so fun. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So yeah, the reveal of the all-white Vision. And that means a battle. there's a battle on multiple
So-
fronts, right?
Wasn't
I
that
have a-
West Coast Avengers? Wasn't that the
Yeah,
that
it can't,
the
it
white-
was and it was a replication of the as far as how it was designed was the same composition as the first appearance of the Vision in the Avengers back in the day.
So I have a theory about this. So if they decide to go the route and just have the White Vision, as the bad guy of WandaVision, where she has to defeat Vision to get over him, in some way, right? What if Agatha is the one that drains the life out of Vision, similar to what she did to her mom, and then gets the power of the Scarlet Witch, that some of the power of the Scarlet Witch that way.
Yeah. I mean, the two Visions could become one. That's how Vision gets out, or it's going to be very tragic and the Vision doesn't get out. It could really. Next week is going to be. I don't know how they could do that.
Do you think they're gonna kill Vision once again?
Third
I
time's a
mean,
charm.
I
think-
wouldn't be surprised.
I think a new type of Vision will be created, or
One
or
that
maybe he'll be-
that's not reliant on the mind is it the Mind Stone to
Yeah, it was the
survive?
Mind Stone. Yeah,
yeah, because the White Vision actually has some variation of the core reactor from Iron Man in his forehead.
Yep.
Um,
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
But I
It was shaped
almost
like a V though. It was pretty
But I
cool.
almost feel like that they're gonna. I don't know. I almost feel like that he's gonna get absorbed into the White Vision and
become
we'll have
one. Yeah.
yeah.
That's a little. I agree with you, but it may be too obvious for the show to do that, right? There may be.
But
I
Some,
mean, but was it too obvious for Luke Skywalker to show up at the end of Mando?
Yeah.
Oh, stop.
Although if that's the case, wouldn't he show up in the Doctor Strange movie?
That's the thing. What if they don't wrap anything up?
Mm.
What if
I
they
don't- I
just
don't-
like kick the door open to something else and then they're like, could this story continues in the multiverse of madness? You
Well,
know?
I think that's exactly where.
Maybe-
I wouldn't be surprised with that.
Well, I think with Wanda, we learned that she's never really learned magic or this kind of stuff. Maybe she's going to learn from Doctor Strange. Maybe he's going to be her teacher.
Well, that would be the MCU way of doing it. But the Marvel comics, it was Agatha who did that. So.
Mm-hmm. And then Agatha taught the children, right?
Yeah, and that may still have, so the children have a legacy as well. The children are part of the Young Avengers, which we were getting sprinkles of Young Avengers, and we're already boring, Vanessa. This is great. The Young Avengers.
About?
The Young Avengers have been sprinkled throughout other episodes, or other properties. From Ant-Man's daughter to
Iron Man's daughter.
Iron Man's daughter, which is new, but Hawkeye's daughter as well. And Hawkeye's got a TV show coming out that's going to get.
Well, there's so many properties that this can tie into. So I know they're not going to truly be able to wrap everything up perfectly. So if anything, it'll just we'll have to find out more in other movies. Maybe it'll tie into.
Stay tuned for the
Thor.
next stinger setting
Thor.
up Doctor Strange.
Well, I think
Oh,
Loki
my.
might have some elements from this as well with different
Yeah.
alternate universes.
Oh yeah.
And then of course you got.
What if Evan Peters is in that too?
He could be. Well,
Where's Pietro? Pietro's got Monica somewhere.
Well, we still got Monica. We still got Monica, whether she's going to be Photon or Spectrum, and Jimmy Woo, of course, still, and Darcy's in there.
Is Darcy gonna have a superpower now?
Possibly she's been rewritten, right? All these people have been rewritten.
Her superpower is snarky cuteness.
Yes.
Is this the mutant origin story here? Is the hex gonna explode because all these people are like changed?
Instead of no more mutants, it's now
I feel like that's
all the mutants.
well, or is it just is that gonna open up the multiverse?
It's a multiverse. The Nexus is going to be the thing. Yeah, definitely. All right. We're just going to keep going for hours. We got to wrap this up. I'm not going to do the usual spiel. We have to end it now. Vanessa, Christopher, Slattman, Chris on top. Thank you for joining me tonight. This was so much fun.
My bottom Chris's.
Yes. Yeah, you do. You got
I wish I had chaos magic right about now.
so cheeky. All right, we got to say goodnight. Please say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Let's get out of here.